back to the Altars and Ashes podcast. I'm BD Fleming.
I'm Austin Tucker.
And I'm Robbie Stringer.
And today we're going to talk about building a borough economy. But more than that, we're going to talk about why building boroughs in the first place actually matters. And we're going to talk about what you're handing down to the next generation. We have spent this whole series talking about walls and gates and households and churches and culture and leadership and building. But eventually we have to ask, what are we building for? And what are we trying to hand down to people whose names we don't even know yet? So that's where we're at.
And by names we don't know yet, you're talking about the future.
In the future, back to the future.
No.
Or just to the
back
future.
to the future. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
The future generations.
Great Scott.
Great Scott.
Do we have to go 88 miles per hour for this?
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
We're good.
You do when you're...
I'm awful tubby. Hitting 88's hard for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Or is this 88 proof?
It's close. It's 100 proof.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
So, how you guys doing?
doing good.
We
We just had a meeting
we
in the future home of Dust and Glory Studio.
Yep.
Drywall's up.
I keep wanting to say we're like weeks away, but every time I think like I'm making progress, then something else, So I think we'll have it done by Thanksgiving. That's if I'm being realistic.
I think it'll be before then.
Yeah.
I think we'll be in October. I'm pushing October. What do you think, Robbie?
I expect to be in there with my Halloween costume on. So...
The first
Yeah,
episode
so,
in
yeah.
there is in your Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And you have plenty of them,
I
from what
do.
I
Now-
understand.
Is it going to be the banana
I do have a banana costume.
Or the
Yeah, the
rainbow,
banana.
the
You have
unicorn.
another one.
I have a what's the drink?
Tequila.
No. The Kool-Aid Man. I have a Kool-Aid Man
Kool-Aid
costume.
Man.
Oh,
now
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
That won't
Power
fit in the shed.
Ranger.
What's that?
You need a Power Ranger one.
I
The pink one or the yellow one?
He totally
we're probably going to get a bunch of messages about celebrating Halloween.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
And so we're probably going to lose half our audience
Yeah.
for me telling this story. But when I was a kid, my grandma bought me a Power Ranger costume. She made it. But it was it was one of those off-brand
Oh, yeah, for sure.
ones.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, great.
Thanks.
Just what but of course she didn't know any better that it
It was a Flower Ranger instead of a Power Ranger.
I'm not sure I would have gone as a Flower Ranger. But I do have lines
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah.
That's funny.
You have lines?
Hmm?
You won't cross?
Yeah.
He draws a line in the
So,
sand and he keeps
what
it.
will you not go for Halloween as?
Do you say Halloween or Halloween?
I say hollow.
Hollow?
All Hallows
Hallow-
Eve. Halloween.
But why hollow? That's HOLL.
is it?
OW.
I can't hear
Hallow-
the difference.
I always have said Halloween.
But nobody says Hal for Hall, right? So I
Hall.
get that too. Like ALL is all.
I don't.
This is the Halloween debate episode.
Yes.
all I know is that I liked Halloween a lot better when my kids couldn't count.
Yeah.
Because then they didn't know how much candy I'd taken
Right.
after they went to sleep.
Right. Now, speaking of kids, the next generation that we're building for.
Star Trek, the next generation. You should have made that
This
joke.
has gone way
It's
off.
way off.
yeah,
It's way off. This
yeah.
is all Robbie's fault too.
It is all
Yeah.
Robbie's
Yeah.
fault.
Great job, Robbie.
Yep.
All right. So we're talking about leaving a legacy, right? I wanted to sort of open us up by saying, what is it when people talk about leaving a legacy? What are they generally talking about? Like what have you guys seen when people talk about leaving a legacy? What are they generally talking about?
I just in general, I think a lot of people want to be known for the things that they've done
Okay.
and remembered for something.
Okay.
I just finished reading a biography about George Washington. I think I've mentioned in
You
several
did. Yeah.
in a couple different podcasts, but I was reading about how he meticulously saved all of his letters and papers from the war, and he purposely saved that, presumably because he wanted to leave a record, behind when he was gone. And so I think when people want to leave a legacy, they do want to be remembered for something.
Yeah. Okay.
For what they said, what they did, in the influence that they had.
Okay.
and they want that to be passed down, like you said, to people that they don't know,
right?
Like me reading all this stuff. He didn't know me,
Right.
The thing is it's not only being remembered for what they've done. A lot of people, it's about the toys that they've acquired.
Yeah.
The car they drove, the house they drove, the parties they were able to pay for, the things they were able to spoil people with.
Yeah.
To be remembered for being that person who's the light of the party. And again, all these things are secular. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be known for what you've done, but what is underneath it? And that's really our conversation today.
Yeah, I think that's right. When I think about leaving a legacy, like a lot of people are, they have buildings with their names on it, or they're thinking about like leaving their kids money. And maybe the more spiritual people think about leaving like a legacy of faith.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think any of those are bad or wrong. But what part of what we're talking about when we're talking about building a borough is building, this episode is a lot about the economy of a borough. And so building things that continue to grow, like you think of like an annuity. We talked about that earlier when we were talking about budgeting and everything like that. And if you do it right, a borough continues to grow and multiply, and it multiplies the faith through the generations, but also continues to, you're building structures, you're building patterns. And so I think that when I hear people talk about leaving a legacy, the part that I maybe it's just my cynical side, but I don't really think most people are thinking about their great grandchildren when they're building or when they're thinking of a legacy. They're thinking about, like you said, their name. Will I be remembered after I'm gone? As opposed to, will I be handing? Will my great grandchildren, or we've talked about the 100-year vision, will my ancestors be better off because of what I'm doing today? Or do they think about like their immediate? Maybe they think about like their immediate children.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I mean,
I think most normal parents want to leave their kids something.
Yeah.
I have met people who think there is some spiritual goodness and not leaving their kids anything, which
I think that's ridiculous.
Antithetical to scripture.
Yeah.
People, it's, I've had to earn everything and it built my character and I want them to earn everything. I do think at the end of the day that as a man of God, what I have belongs to God. And there is a sense in which if my kids despised the Lord and did only what was wrong, I would not leave them the money to do more wrong.
Yeah.
But for the most part, ideally, you want kids who you can leave things to. You want them to be able to build generationally off what you've accomplished. Right. Because let's be honest, most success is generational. A good majority. If your parents did well and they leave an inheritance to you, and you do well with what you have and leave an inheritance to your kids, theoretically speaking, your family should be increasing, and the numbers exponentially multiply because of the kids, but there should still be enough money to launch each generation. Yeah. If it's done right.
Yeah.
Minimum.
100%. 100%.
Well, I mean, if you're multiplying every generation, in like what you've accomplished and what you're building up, then it should keep increasing, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about recently is like cultural inheritance too, more than just the monetary aspect. What culture are we leaving behind? And the reason I say that I've been thinking about it recently a lot is because it feels like a lot of the cultural inheritance of the United States is being sort of like watered down. Part of it, I think, is just natural when you have, we've talked about immigration here and there or whatever. You have a lot of different cultures coming together. It kind of blends those together, and so there's less like that original American heritage. And so that idea of like a cultural inheritance is on my mind a lot. And I was thinking about it from a borough perspective, like that's something else that when you build a borough, you could potentially be giving them a better monetary inheritance, hopefully. But also you're producing a cultural inheritance that like could help your grandchildren's grandchildren live in a time and a place where you don't have to have these individual boroughs because whole states are Christian or whole, countries. And
everybody is giving a cultural inheritance.
Yeah.
Whether they recognize it or not.
Okay.
Like for instance, my mom was a runaway.
Mhm.
She married a godly man, a man who came from a Christian inheritance. And then I ended up getting these grandparents that prayed for me.
Yeah.
Uncles who took me to church. And there was an expectation in that. And as I've grown, most of my cousins, all my brothers are still faithful to church, faithful to God. I remember when I got saved, my grandma rocking there crying, "I've been praying for you to get saved this week."
Oh, wow.
And so it was one of those things, my memories, there's an inheritance that I got when I became a Tucker.
Yeah.
That I did not have before I was adopted. And so I might see it a little bit more for the fact that I'm not blind to it because I remember coming into the family, but you're leaving an inheritance. And if you're a mom or dad where there's faith is not important, church is not important, you're passing on an inheritance there as well.
Yeah.
So the culture of the house, when we talked about monoculture last week,
right.
My dad, you guys are brothers. You'll be brothers the rest of your life. I will burn everything your mother and I have to the ground if you guys fight over it.
Right.
And it's kind of family is important. We forgive family. We move on. That's a culture.
Yeah.
And it's one that my kids have inherited because I've said to my kids the same thing that my father said to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was an indelible statement to you, and you've thought, I want to make sure that my kids know this.
Because I love the relationship I have with my brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Austin's right that everybody's leaving a legacy. They're passing down something culturally. Even if you don't intend to, even if you're not consciously doing it, because I do think that there are a lot of things that we unconsciously do, and we just do it, and we don't really know why. It just seems like the thing to do. But the reason it seems like the thing to do is because that was taught and modeled to us when we were young.
Right.
So, for instance, before I became a father, I didn't really sit around thinking about what a father should do in this situation or that situation. And of course, once I knew I was going to be a father, like I did start thinking about some of those things, but you can't anticipate everything.
Sure.
And so some things just came out naturally. And I found myself doing the same things that my own dad did. And it's not that I consciously chose to do that in some of those cases. It was just a reflex action. That is what had been handed down to me. Oh, this is what you do when this particular thing happens. For like one thing that when in my family, of course, I was an only child, so it was just me, my mom, and my dad.
Yeah.
But no matter where we went, my dad got up first. He would wake up. He'd wake up early. If we were in a hotel, you only have the one bathroom. Yeah. He's the one who got up early. He let me and my mom sleep later, and I never made a conscious decision to do that as a father myself, but I just found myself doing it. Yeah. Of course I'm going to let my wife and my kid get more sleep than myself. Like that's just the thing that you do. And I could go thing after thing after thing like that from whether it's my parents, whether it's pastoral figures, and it does go on to like waking up is like a not necessarily a spiritual thing per se, but there's a lot of spiritual things that I think people hand down as well. Yeah. We go to church. We value spiritual things, and all of that's handed down. Whether you know it or not, if you're not valuing spiritual things, you are handing that down culturally as well.
Yeah. Well, today we're really going to be looking at the borough economy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, ultimately, you can't build a borough without some sort of economy to support it. So, a lot of Christian podcasters like ourselves will spend a lot of time and energy talking about, theology and politics and worship and family and schooling, and all those things are good and important, and that's why we talk about them. But there's a question that I say in the book that you have to consider, and it's who signs your paycheck? Because eventually economic dependence, not independence, economic dependence places pressure on theological conviction. And so let me flesh that out. You guys know last year I went through a situation at work, being the sole income provider. I was I had to make a decision about like what my future looked like based on needing to keep the income that I had. And I had a choice to make. And the choice that I made was to sort of do an end around, because I felt like I needed to continue doing the thing that I was doing, which was writing and, podcasting and all that. But I also needed to keep the job. And luckily I had another option. But there are times and places where you might not have the option. Like here's an example. During the whole COVID time, let's say you did not want to get that shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a religious reason or whatever. Well, there were some companies that said, it doesn't matter if you have a religious reason or not, you got to get the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are dependent upon
if you're a
company,
pawn, if you're a pawn,
yeah. If you're dependent upon a company to provide that income for you outside of this borough structure, then you are more likely to, and it's just the nature of it, you're more likely to kind of lower your theological convictions and be not as loud or as forthright about them if it's going to cost you your income.
And Jesus says to be as wise as a serpent,
Sure.
as harmless as a dove. So there is a time in which wisdom has to play.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think this is also cause for more cowardice among the Christian church than there should be.
Well, and of course, like how much freedom does someone have if losing their employment is going to cause them to their whole lifestyle to have to change?
And now we're not saying you have to be self-employed.
No,
we're asking
no. Right.
Where are you getting that money from?
Well,
if you work for Hobby Lobby,
right,
and you have Christian values, you're fine.
Yeah.
You work for a national bank and you believe in patriarchy, you're liable to get fired.
You're liable to
Honestly,
get fired.
You can get fired for anything.
Yeah.
If you're just slightly left instead of far left in some companies,
right.
you can get in trouble. I know someone that's like that. They're like, I don't touch politics.
Yeah.
Even though they're like center left.
Yeah.
Because they work in the corporate world and they know their bosses are far left.
Right.
And so they're like, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. Well, and so ultimately where I'm going with this, though, is a good borough can help create jobs like you said. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur, but a good borough can create jobs. They can employ people. They can train young men, like we have people who have helped train in a skill.
And we're basically saying you should seek to build the borough or be in the borough so that you can have the Christian liberty you need to be a generational.
Right. I mean, a good borough is going to have sort of an educational structure to help, make sure that the kids are being educated in the right way. If, let's say for God forbid, something happened and you did lose your job because of your convictions, hopefully somebody's there to kind of help going, okay, I know these people. Let me see if we can get you connected. So
I'm not trying to jump ahead of the cart, but you have this concept of you got the few businessmen in our church who are creating jobs to actually prize that as a church.
Mm-hmm.
And for those men to mature in such a way that they don't see it as something that they're garnering unto themselves only, but something they're blessing, those men be the type of men who say, this young man's sharp. I'm going to let him work with me. But if he comes to me after 5 years working with me and says, hey, I have this idea for a business, I'm going to help him launch.
Invest in him.
I'm going to invest in him because I want my kids and my grandkids to have all the opportunities in the world. And the more men around here who are in charge of all these different spheres of economics that are involved, the more I can guarantee financial safety.
Good boroughs actually have investment, like capital money to invest in things like that. Mm-hmm. So like the bigger the borough is and the stronger it is, they have like a fund to go, okay, you think we need a Christian coffee shop. Here's some money. Let's go do that, or whatever. Okay, this guy is wanting to go to college, but he can't get the income or whatever. Like, let's all pull in and help send him to college or whatever. But one of the things that you said that I really want to kind of touch on as elders here and just think about, like, what if the church honored businessmen as much as we honored our missionaries? How many times have you?
I think
Good.
I'm not against what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I do think that some might hear that, or if they saw that,
yeah,
they would think, well, of course the pastors are honoring the businessmen.
Right.
You know,
you
because
need more money. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I said that as elders, but I'm talking about in general. I'm really talking about, remember, the church is the borough core, right?
Right.
And so what I'm saying is having men in the church who are able to invest in the different needs of a borough is highly valuable. And because a lot of times money is this odd thing that nobody really wants to talk about, it kind of just gets pushed under the rug because it's not as holy as missionary work or something like that.
If we remove dualistic ideology, if we say, okay, the work of the missionary honors God. Yes.
What's dualism?
Dualism. So let me simplify it. If you think there's the sacred and the secular, two.
Yeah.
So a lot of Christians go through life with this concept, well, church is sacred, but my job as a plumber, that's secular, where the Bible says, whatsoever thy hand finds to do it as unto the Lord. All right, there is no such thing as sacred and secular. We are living temples of the Holy Spirit. Everywhere we walk is holy ground. Everything we put our hands to is to glorify God. So can I say with true conviction that I should honor the missionary as much as I do the godly, honest businessman? Yes. And the fact that they are both serving the Lord in the capacity and the calling which God has called them. Right. And I think we've thrown away the concept of calling an occupation. We go, again, dualism. We'll say, well, a pastor has a calling, but the businessman has an occupation. Where if you go back to the early Puritan writers, they would argue that these are all callings, that callings are occupations, that they are one and the same. So I think you're right. People go, well, of course the pastors... But I think part of that's the problem is we've got to make it a big deal when people do things to expand the kingdom.
Yeah.
So
you're right. I mean, both of those are kingdom work.
Yeah.
So why would we think that one is more important than the other?
As a great philosopher once said, "Hey, it must be the money."
Must be the money. Who was that?
I don't
either.
But in all seriousness, I was actually just talking about this in my American history class today, because we're talking about the New England colonies that were primarily founded by Puritans or groups that had broken off from the Puritans, and how they had a particular view of work that not even other Christian groups necessarily had, because it was rooted in, to a degree, the teachings of Luther, but more specifically the teachings of Calvin.
Yeah, the Protestant work ethic.
What they call the Protestant work ethic. Yeah. And I talked about how if you look at the places that the teachings of Calvin, because I don't know if you guys knew this, Calvin taught more than just about the 5 points. I don't know if you guys knew that. What? He talked about a whole bunch of different things.
Actually, he was a borough builder.
That's exactly what he was.
The Luther family, Martin Luther, him and his wife,
too.
If you look into what all the things his wife did.
I mean, she made great beer. I know
awesome beer.
Yeah, she did more than that, though. I promise you. But the idea that all work glorifies God. That all work is a calling.
Yeah.
Because we need people to preach the gospel in foreign lands.
Yeah.
We need people to preach the gospel in our own communities.
Sure.
We also need people to manufacture clothing.
That's right.
And we need people to run banking institutions. And we need people to make shoes. And we need people to pick up trash. And I could just keep going. Like the rest of the episode could just be a list of things. But like all of those are callings and the reason they're callings is because our community needs them.
Correct.
And so we need people with whatever your skills and passions are, wherever God puts you, you answer that call and you do it to the glory of God. And we need to encourage that.
Yeah.
And what you're saying, though, is that we need to take it a step further, and people that especially can build their own businesses doing these things. It is something that can be used to, you don't just use your profits to bless the church and the borough, which you do, but you also create those as job opportunities for other people.
The old adage, you inspect what you expect. So here's the thing. Churches will ultimately fill up with what is prized, and it will also fill up with that which is not preached against often. And so if the church says, you know what, so-and-so has built this business, and we go to the young men, and he's actually pouring into the young men, and we actually think more like brothers and sisters, like, I want to take you with me. When you win, I win, we all win because the kingdom of God wins. I have this business. You're interested in doing this. I'm going to help you start that because I actually sub some of that out sometimes, or your job is necessary for mine, so I might as well help you win. The problem is, I think also you have the businessman that just wants it all for themselves, and they take on more than they can handle instead of actually pouring into men and investing and
You mean like controlling it all themselves,
or just trying to build their kingdom instead of the Lord's kingdom. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a large businessman, but if your attitude is, I love God's people, how can I use the calling God has given me, painter, plumber, electrician, I don't know, in a way which builds his kingdom, supports his work, and raises up generations after me? How can I use my calling for that? Instead of thinking about how can I build a bigger kingdom? And here's the trick. So like, this is part of Jewish society. They believe that you are supposed to bring your brothers along with you. Mennonites have a similar thing. Mennonites, you got the men, a lot of the elders are business owners, and they will constantly bring a young man, work them to death with them, and then invest them to start their own thing and back them. Because if you build a community like that, you're supporting jobs, you're giving our people who do not have the gifting to operate businesses jobs where they can have their Christian faith or not get a jab and not get fired. And you're also developing something that will grow in value generationally and expand. So I don't think everybody has the ability to own a business. I grew up in a family that's had a lot of successful businesses. And not everybody has that drive. And not everybody has the gumption. And not everybody has the economic fortitude, I guess.
Well, if everyone was a business owner, there'd be no one to
There'd
work
be
for.
nobody to work for.
Well, but the caveat here, though, is, or not even a caveat, but like the thing that we're not saying is every employee is employed by somebody that started a business, right? Every business that is started was started by someone. And so when we say like the entrepreneurial spirit, what really all we're saying is that like, if you have that ability, you should do it because other Christians need jobs, right? And so, ultimately, we're not saying that you can only buy from Christians, right? Like we want to buy from each other, but we also want people who do great work so that people want to use them, not just because they're Christian, but because they also do great work. So, ultimately a mature borough looks like this. I kind of drew it out, as you guys can see on there. I put like Christian household, Christian business, Christian employee, Christian customer, Christian investment, new Christian business. And so what I'm saying is, if we think about it like a cycle, so you've got a household, they produce a business, they hire employees, they get customers from the borough, right? And then as they make money, they're investing in other businesses or in other people, and they're creating new businesses. And so like it's just this, it's almost a snowball effect if you do it right. So as you're creating a business, people from the borough are buying from you, your business grows, you're hiring people within the borough to help grow the business, right? Like let's just give an example. Let's say a construction company, right? So Robbie goes out and starts a construction company. Everybody in the borough, I know. That's why I said. I know. That's why I said Robbie.
One guy.
That's exactly why I said Robbie started
the least qualified person to do that.
Robbie starts the construction company.
You still have to buy from me because I'm a Christian, though.
He's doing great. He's doing great construction work. So we all go, you know what? Robbie's a great constructor, contractor, whatever. And every time, the church needs a new roof, Robbie's doing the new roof. Every time the house down the street has an issue, Robbie's doing that. So his business is growing. At some point, he needs to be able to take on some other guys to help. His business is expanded. He needs new employees.
And if you got to hire somebody, why not hire people from?
You're bringing maybe even bring a kid up who's just turned 18. He needs a trade. You hire him. He learns a skill. He starts his own company maybe down the line. Maybe not. Maybe he continues to work. You grow the business, whatever. But you start making new employees. Let's say he does start the business, then he starts his own, company, and you've got like multiple businesses and multiple people. And so you can see how, like, if you do it right, as you're investing in each other, if you're doing good work, here's the key though, right? You've got to do quality work. If Robbie starts this company and you're doing a terrible job, we're not going to go to you just because you're a Christian. I know you're making the joke, like, you got to come to me because I'm a Christian, but like, I'm going to go down the street to the person who can actually put my roof on the right way.
Yeah.
And so as a business owner in the borough, you've got to be great. Because you've got to want people to come to you, and you got to give them a reason. Because here's the thing. I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but like, somebody that you knew really well did a service. And so you hired them and you realize they actually sucked. And then you're like, now what do I do? Because I don't want anybody else to have to go through this. Yeah. Like, I don't want to refer this person. You ever had that?
Yeah, I think within the brotherhood, there's a little bit of a Matthew 18 moment there.
Yeah, where you're like,
because
teaching them that
if they are doing you wrong by either, and there's even a sense of overcharging, gorging, gouging, gorging.
Yeah.
Gouging.
They're gorging on your money.
My problem.
They're gorging on your money.
Gouging is what they do. Or just shabby work in general.
Yeah.
There's a sense in which you say, hey, you should be doing this as unto the Lord.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I can't in good conscience recommend you.
Yeah.
Unless you can do better than this. And give them a chance to come and make it right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really know the construction business, believe it or not.
Wow.
But I've been in Christian education for a while.
Yeah.
And there are people who make Christian schools with the mentality, well, you should just send them here because it's a Christian school.
Yeah.
And unless you are actually seeking to give an excellent education, why should people send people to your school?
How many Christian schools don't use it's basically a secular education, and then they paste a couple verses on it, but there's actually no Christian worldview.
Well, what I mean is they really do a good job of it's almost the opposite, where it's like, we'll teach them the Bible very well, but like math,
I've seen that. I've seen that.
That's not that big of a deal. And it's like, well, of course, you do want them to be versed in the scriptures.
Yeah,
like that is one reason why you would send someone to a Christian school, and but you're sending them there for those other things too.
Yeah.
You want them to be very literate. You want them to be able to write. You want them to be versed in the math that they need to, and so you want them to have a good understanding of science and how the world works, and you want history so that they can give a context and so of everything that's going on in the present. And so you want that, and you need, if you're going to be a good Christian school, you need a principal that has that view. You need all of your different teachers,
qualified teachers,
and that want to do a good job, that really want to see the kids learn, not just because Christians on it, because that makes the name Christian look bad.
Yeah.
If you are not attempting to give the best education possible. And I know like a lot of early Christian schools, like a lot of them were being thrown together at the last minute. But I mean, we've had decades.
Yeah, we have.
To figure this out and develop good curriculum.
Yeah.
And so we ought to be doing the best we can. Homeschool's the same way. I have found that homeschool kids are always either really smart or really not.
Yeah.
And
notice how he used really not
instead of really dumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it all depends, on how the parents are doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to unschool my child.
Yeah. Right.
That's
I'm going to homeschool them so that way they can play in dirt all day.
We unschool our kids. I believe they learn and it's like, I believe your kid's not going to know how to do things. Okay.
I'm not going to make my kid learn anything he's not interested in.
Right. Right.
And unschooling cracks me up because you have literally thousands of years of proven educational theory. And it's kind of like, you know what? I know there's this great educational theory. The Greeks, the Romans, they all had this figured out, and the Christians added onto it, and the Presbyterians. But you know what? I'm going to treat my kid like a second century peasant and just let him milk cows and chase chickens.
Yeah. And the problem is, though, like modern school doesn't actually even follow what they did for thousands of years.
No,
So-
but it's a little bit closer.
Right.
At least there's some structure.
Yeah.
It's more than playing video games all day.
Yes,
It might be a
of
little
course,
bit better
of
than
course.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody could call that school in the first place, but
Yeah.
somebody does. You're right.
that. I would say those people are what we call liars.
Liars. All right, let me ask you a question, though. So we talked about they've got to be doing good quality work. But one of the things that we need to be willing to do is pay a little bit more to shop at the businesses in the borough. The reason is big businesses have economy of scale, right?
Yes.
Walmart, Amazon, they're always going to be able to win on price or on how quickly they can get it to you or whatever, because they have economies of scale. A very small business does not have that. And so they might be able to do really quality work, but it might cost a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so as people in the borough, like, we kind of need to be willing to pay, about 10% more to be able to, put the roof on.
And that's the thing is, and we're not saying do without.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to buy it from
If you have to buy it
Walmart,
from the cheapest
it
place, you got to
is.
buy it from the cheapest place.
is.
Yeah.
But what we're saying, if you can, why not keep the money in the kingdom?
Yeah.
Why not bless your brother and sister? The Bible says
Who have the same values and who are trying to build the same
and the Bible
thing.
commands us to prefer one another.
Yeah.
And I think Christians miss that when Jesus said, as much as you've done it unto the least. So that whole chapter, he says, when I was in prison, you visited me.
Yeah.
When I was hungry. And he said, as much as you've done it to least these your brothers.
Right.
He's not talking about the secular world.
Right.
He's not talking about your neighbor. He's talking about your brother.
Mm-hmm.
We're to prefer our brothers and sisters and care for our brothers and sisters. So my brothers own a large security firm. Okay. When Grace Point went and got a new security officer for the school, guess where I went?
Mm-hmm.
I went there. Now I've got nephews and stuff that go there. So of course they were very eager to be like, yeah, we'll make sure you all are well secured.
Right.
We got the best officer they had because of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't expect a discount or anything just because they're my brother.
Right.
They did actually give us a little one because I'm their brother, but I didn't expect that.
Right.
The concept though is I much rather give it to my brothers who are building a Christian company who have our values than to the world where they're going to hire drunkards or bring security officers. I know because Mitchell and Kendall and my mom run this business that they know our values, and the officers they send us is going to be one who honors our values.
Yeah.
Even if you don't fully align,
Right.
So there's some benefits, and I know I'm keeping it in the faith family. And that's just one example. We have AC guy in our church.
Yeah.
If we have an AC issue, guess who we give it to?
Yep.
And I'm not going to ask for discounts either because I want his business to prosper.
Right.
But we're keeping it in the family as much as possible. And I'm praying God gives us more and more contractors.
Yeah.
That's why I only eat out at Chick-fil-A.
The Lord's
so I can keep it. Yeah,
the Lord's chicken. Yep.
I eat way too much Chick-fil-A. They have that point
way to
system.
keep it in the kingdom, though.
Way to keep it in the kingdom. They have point system, and the more points you go up, my wife has been at the platinum level for years now. I'm saving up the points now because I'm hoping to buy my own Chick-fil-A with the Chick-fil-A points.
when your family goes in Chick-fil-A, does everybody say hi to you all at one
They
time?
actually have a red carpet just for them.
We drove up, and the young lady's like, "Your usual Miss Tucker?" I'm playing.
If you didn't say I'm playing, she was going to scold you later. Yeah. So one of the things that I think that if you're successful at this, that you can do is keep your kids in the borough after they're 18. What happens a lot of times right now is kids go off to school, right? They leave home, they go off to school, they get $100,000 in debt. They spend 4 years being trained by somebody who hates the Lord, hates everything you stand for. despises your worldview, and then they go work at a corporate job, where, again, the company probably hates their worldview, and then you lose that value of that person because they're off. They're no longer in the borough. Potentially, they might now hate everything you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought was, like, if you do this the right way, and, let's say instead, let's use that kid that went and worked for Robbie, right?
Hmm.
If he didn't go work for Robbie's construction company and he went down that path, he may come back, right? He might still add value, or he might, go down a totally different path, never, invest in the kingdom again, doesn't start another business to help to continue growing the borough or whatever. Like, it's just almost it's almost like this, the two paths.
Yeah. Well, and you're not taking we're not taking an anti-college position.
No, right.
But what we're saying is that individual person pouring into you, that what's the word I'm looking for? Person who,
like an apprentice.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
An apprentice.
Yeah.
That means more.
Yeah.
Even if you have a college degree, you don't actually know your trade.
Yeah.
Until you do it.
Well, let's use. So I see your point. Like I said, construction, and it sounds like I'm anti-college. Let's say your daughter is going to become an accountant.
Yes.
Okay. And you have a CPA who is in your borough, and she goes and works for the CPA because she wants to start getting hours. She's attending the local college. She knows when she graduates, she wants to do CPA. So she starts getting hours now, because you got to have a certain amount of hours to be able to sit for the exam. So it can play out in whether it's a trade or whether it's a college
and
type position.
The thing is you use that illustration because that's exactly what my daughter did.
Right.
I looked for the CPA who I knew was a Christian, and my connection helped her get that internship, which later led to the job she has.
Right.
And so, like, that's another form of keeping it in the kingdom.
Yeah.
However, my daughter one day will probably be a CPA, and there will come a time when the church wants to expand, or one of the people in our church who has the business goes, I need tax advice.
Yep.
And we have somebody in the family you can go to.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So the how are we doing on time right now?
We are doing well. We are only 5.5 hours in.
Good.
We're
okay.
At 43 minutes.
All right. So let me give you, as this is the last episode of the main chapters of the book. Next episode, I want to get in there and do like.
But don't worry, there's bonus chapters at the end.
There are bonus chapters called the appendices. And so the next episode, we're going to talk a lot about what to do in like the first 180 days. So let's say you're like, I've got the vision for it. I like the idea. How do I actually do it? But before I go there, I kind of want to cast a vision, okay? Because if you do this right now, you need to understand that you're not ever probably going to see the fruit of this.
It's a process
in your lifetime. It is a multi-generational process. And so if you are the pioneer right now, and you've got the idea to start a borough, you are going to sacrifice. You are probably going to have to potentially relocate. You're going to have to build the school. You're going to have to start the businesses. You're going to have to figure out the structure of the borough. Everything is going to be difficult for that first generation. But if they do it right...
Never mind, I'm out then.
Yeah, it's too much. If they do it right, the second generation inherits the system that the first generation built. And so they don't have to reinvent the school. They don't have to, start it. They have to improve it, right? They got to make it better. They don't have to create the economic network. They've got the network, and they build the network, and they expand it. And then, the culture has already been established. So they're just strengthening the culture. And so you can see like that second generation isn't actually building it. They're growing it. And then by the time you have a third generation, then the borough mindset is normal, right? Then they're already growing up, and it's not like some radical idea to have a Christian community where people are, investing in the kingdom.
Well, and that whole rag to riches in 3 generations.
Yeah.
in order to do this, you have to be constantly pouring into your kids the concept of
borough.
generational borough.
Yep.
And so it's something that they ought to be raised up in.
Yep.
Because in the old adage, bad times make strong men make good times make weak men make bad times.
Yep.
You have to break that cycle by having fathers who are actually teaching their kids.
Yeah.
And not just like Sunday morning only Christians.
Yeah.
But son, we have the small business. Here's what we do. Everything we have, it's God's.
Well,
we're doing it for Him.
Not only that, but I'm just going to say this plainly. Sunday morning Christian is not in a borough. They don't have what it takes. They wouldn't want it because there would be too much accountability. There would be too much standards. And so you're not going to have that type of person in a real, genuine borough because everybody's holding each other accountable and they're all working towards the same mission. And if it's just a Sunday morning only person, they're not contributing anything. In fact, I hesitate to say this, but like there are most of the people that show up at a church on a Sunday morning are kind of just like takers.
Yeah.
It sounds bad.
No, that's true.
But like they're there
anything.
To be, yeah. They're there to be entertained, to feel good, to walk away feeling okay, empowered, or whatever. They're not really builders. They're not really thinking of the mindset of like, how do I advance the kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
That's a minority of people always.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Did I
I'm just
step on a foot?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I don't think so. I mean, probably somebody, but that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
Prove him wrong. I like it when he's wrong.
All right. So here's what I think actually gets inherited. You ready for this?
Go for it.
All right. Number 1, culture. I got 4 main points. So number 1 is culture. And in a borough, the culture is going to be how we worship, how we lead, how we educate, how we celebrate what we don't celebrate, how we work,
how we fight.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
We've got to be people who know how to fight and feast.
Yeah.
We have to be.
Yep. So culture.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that.
Yep. Number 2 is capital, right? He's like, move on, buddy. So businesses, land, homes, equipment. So like, think about this. If you have a good borough and one guy has a tractor, everybody has a tractor, right? Because it's kind of like a, almost like a community resource at that point.
And as that one great philosopher said, she thinks my tractor's sexy.
I knew that's what you
But no, back
I
on
thought
that.
he actually got a real philosopher. You guys both did it each time. I'm like, oh, who are we going to bring up now?
Under the capital, you have you said businesses, but you also have the institutions itself, which is the culture of the businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then investment too, right? Like I mentioned earlier, a borough is going to have like this. I'm using it like a pot of money. It's not really a pot, but like some sort of investment into endeavors that crop up. And so like, if you think about it, like imagine like you have a HOA, right?
Yeah.
You're paying the HOA's taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of. Imagine like that same sort of mindset, only instead of it just being to take care of the lawn and everything like that, it's actually going into building the structures of the borough.
Yeah. And then your next one, relationships.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
I was having a conversation with my son who graduated high school this last year, and he was talking about how he misses having a ton of friends around him. And I said to him, do you know one of the most famous friendships in the scripture? Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, David and Jonathan. Mm-hmm. I was like, you're right. Do you know the age difference on that? Mm-hmm. I go, it was probably near father and son. We don't know the exact, but yeah. Do you have something?
I seem to remember that Life of David class that I took. Thank you, Dr. Brown. I thought he estimated it could be up to even 20 years.
Yeah, he said 20 to 40.
Yeah.
It's like this gap. We don't know for certain, but he was definitely
because
old
Saul
enough.
was significantly older
Yes.
than
And
David.
so Jonathan was old enough to be a father figure, yet they were friends. And I was like, son, said, don't think for one moment that friendship is about age.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I said, some of my closest friends are 10 to 20 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've discovered as a pastor, those are blessings because every now and then they talk to me like I'm young.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but I've also been with them so long that I proved that they have great respect for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that is hard for people that are like in their late teens, early 20s
to grasp,
because for so long the adults were the other. They were not one of what I am, and so to realize that you could actually enjoy spending time and hanging out with people who are a little bit older than you, maybe even 10, 20 years older than you, I do think takes a little bit.
It takes time.
Bit of
time.
time.
and so the concept though is that we've put this narrow view on where friendship should come from.
Mm-hmm.
Friendships. If I think of the men in my church who I'm friends with, not as just friends, but brothers, then their children should be like nieces and nephews to me,
Mm-hmm.
which means I should be a friend to their child. And if I truly loved my brother, I will be a friend to that child. But we also need to train the children to look to their father's friends as friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we do that enough.
I think there's a proverb about that in the book of Proverbs, something about your father's friend or something
there
like
is.
that. There is, yeah.
Yeah. And so you build these friendships that are generational, but those, if it's done in a borough, are also institutional friendships.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wrote that the kid that's sitting beside your child at church today might someday be the person who is, their business partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or their, could be that like, we have kids that are, in the same age you and I do. And it's like that might be their spouse someday.
I just
like
have
there's
a
all
gut
kinds of
one
stuff.
day a furlong's going to be a stringer.
A what? A furlong is going to be a string. I guess it would be. Yeah. I was like, wait, why would it be that way?
Well, it's
yeah.
not. No.
Yeah.
One of my boys isn't going to become a furlong.
No. Yeah. Sometimes I forget that I have daughters.
Yeah.
Because I have 3 brothers, and I'm like, why would it be that? Yeah.
Yes.
But like one of those kids could be the borough's attorney someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so you've got to be investing in it. And I think that's what you're saying is like on one side, you need to have the kids being brought up, but you also need to have the men investing down.
Yes. And it should be a natural.
Yeah.
It should be, that was my brother. That's his child. I'm going to treat them. They're my brother in the Lord. That little child is.
Yeah.
But I'm going to treat them like they're my brother's child.
Yeah.
And I think we far too often in the church separate the young from the old.
Yeah.
Too much, particularly in the areas of fellowship. Like men's fellowship should have the boys there.
Yeah, that's challenging, man. It is so challenging.
Because there's some fellowships, like we're going to be at Holy Smokes here.
Yeah.
When is that? Like a week from now?
28th.
So we're going to be there. We can't bring the kids there.
No, not that one.
But what we can do, we do, like when we went on that camping trip, we had all those boys. Those boys were dirty from head to toe. They had the time of their life fishing and stuff. And the men, I love the men. The men were getting out there, showing them how to bait their hook.
Yeah.
I remember one boy caught something, and he was a boy whose parent wasn't there. And Brother Vic was like, let me show you how to clean that fish. Do you want to eat it? Showed him how to clean it, eat it. These are things that these boys need.
Yeah.
And they need to know that these men are friends to them.
Yeah.
And I think it's even deeper than just like learning how to fish and stuff like that, though. Like,
oh yeah,
like I feel like hopefully like I have life insurance and stuff to if something were to happen to me, but like I have no doubt that like if something happened to me, that my family would be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of faith that I have in the people in my church.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you guys would feel,
oh yeah,
the same way, that like that's not something you have to worry because of that relationship,
right?
Right.
That,
right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like if something happened to you, we wouldn't be like, well, Anna, you got to move out of the parish.
Yeah, right.
We'd be like, okay, let's meet together. Where are you at financially? Let's help her find a place. Let's help her and take our time and make sure she's being taken care of, loved. and able to make that transition properly. You know, it would be unethical and me unloved, because I love you as my brother. I need to make sure your children and wife are going to be cared for, you know, and I think that's the right thing to do.
And if something happened to you, your family would still get Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
We'd make sure of it.
At least once a week.
Oh, man. Here's the fourth thing. I think we could really touch on this in a couple different ways. Institutional knowledge. So, for instance, you've started a school. You've run a school. If we don't teach somebody else in the borough how to do that and how to grow and how to expand, we're messing up.
I agree.
Not it.
Yeah. Robbie's actually been a former principal. And at one time when we were looking for
I heard
principals,
he is the assistant principal right now anyway.
He's the dean technically.
He's the assistant to the principal?
I'm the assistant principal, which basically just means if...
Oh, that's right. We changed the titles on that.
No, I'm just messing the white shirt. Have you guys not seen The Office?
No, I love that. Assistant to the principal.
Assistant to the principal.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a good enough, a lot of pop culture references. I like that. But I'm just in charge when the other two people who are usually there aren't there, you know?
Right.
Which I'm going to wait till something really bad happens.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to be like,
time
I'm not here.
Like that, last year, everything. Usually it just goes by fine. Usually it just kind of goes on autopilot and I don't have to do anything. But the last year when you guys were gone, oh my goodness.
Everything hit the wall.
Everything on the same day. Kids were in trouble that I've never seen in trouble before. Like the bathrooms were
flooding.
Flooding, plural.
Yes,
like more than
one bathroom. I remember that.
Yeah.
We ended up having to call a company in to actually suck the water out of the walls. It was so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, Donald and I leave, and Robbie just lets the whole thing go to.
I know.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, but I mean, I would say that is also cross borough. Like, Grace Point has helped other schools start, and we got one right now that we're hoping we can help start this next school year. You know, so I think that's just. I believe in education. I believe in the church taking charge of its children's education. Yeah. And we have to pour into other people who will do the same.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I think it's even broader than just the education piece, though. Like, what if there's needed to plant another church, or what if somebody was wanting to start another borough locally and they wanted to know how to do it?
Well, and here's the thing: when it comes to starting a school. I can tell you exactly what didn't work.
Yeah, right.
And
which is maybe just as important.
It is. And I can also tell you what worked for me, but I have been at this long enough to know it might not work for you.
And it might not be the same now, right?
Yeah.
Or something, but yeah. Well, one of the things that I want to leave this episode kind of end on is that somebody has to start the borough.
Do you have a philosopher to quote? To end it? No, okay.
I didn't know you guys were going to be going down that path, so I failed. But in order to have a borough, if there's not one there, somebody has to start it, right? And so somebody has to be the first Christian family. Somebody's got to start the school or the homeschool co-op, or start the business. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make with this episode when I started it out the way I did is that in order to really do this, you have to have a strong desire to be setting your great grandchildren up, or your grandchildren's grandchildren. Otherwise, you probably won't start the endeavor because it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, you got to be willing to put your hand to the plow, not look back as God commanded.
Yeah.
And not worry about what fruit's going to come, but just trust God with the fruit. We seed, we water, God gives increase.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, we're talking about souls, but I think that's true for everything. No farmer plants seed in the field can guarantee those seed will sprout other than God brings them forth.
Yep.
And so there has to be a generation who's plowing and throwing seed and marching forward, and the field is so large that we might turn around and start seeing it sprout up, but our children will have the combines.
Yeah. Well, and I like that metaphor there, because ultimately, if you think about like the harvest, right? God doesn't ask us to harvest everything that we plant. He requires us to be faithful enough to plant the seed. And so that means that we need to build our household. We need to build the church. We need to build the borough economy and create that culture that we're looking for. We need to raise our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And then, when we think about planting the seed, the borough is the seed and Christendom is the harvest, if you think about it. So like what we're doing is we're planting these seeds that ultimately, like we talked about, if you have the long-term vision for it, 3 generations, the state of Florida could be just a Christian state, right? That seems wild, but if enough areas had boroughs and started to, multiply them and build, and then the next generation takes it and grows it, and the third generation, within 100 years, you could have a fully Christian state, and if you have that in multiple different places, you could have a Christian nation.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm too optimistic, but
if you believe that's going to happen, like
right.
if you believe in a positive view,
yep.
like how well, it can only happen gradually or just all at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I am very thankful when God does great works.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of times there's a lot of people who are investing and doing the little things, gradually building.
That nobody ever sees, right?
That nobody ever sees. And so then when something big happens, there's something
There's an infrastructure that's already been building underneath it. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the interesting part of that is like, I see this vision, but I also see it happening in real time too, where we're at locally. And so I just continue to pray that like we would have that vision and that we would follow where God is leading us and that we would be faithful in doing that, even though it's scary, even though it's a lot of work.
I'm looking at your list of somebody has to be the first.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got to watch all these first in our church.
Yeah, I bet you have.
And I remember when the church didn't believe in elders.
Mm-hmm.
Now God's has multiplied the work that I would have never been able to do. There's those first businessmen, which we've had them in the past, but now we're really starting to actually get faithful businessmen. Those first homeschool families and those first families serious about education.
Yeah.
You got on there the first Christian in your family.
Yeah.
Do you all know who? Do you all know who that was in your family, or does it go back generations?
Oh, it goes back way generations for me.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge blessing. I can tell you, I just did that whole ancestry thing, and there was like 6 generations back for like 3 generations in a row through that 6th generation, and I had no idea until I looked this up. We're pastors.
Really?
3 generations in a row.
I was speaking to a man this week in his house who's the first Christian in his family in generations.
Saying that though, like, could you imagine
you had a lot of pastors in your family?
I had no idea.
Could you imagine
that's why you're always lecturing.
If your like great grandfather who was a pastor, he did not know that his great grandchild would be an elder at a church.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't even know my name. He didn't know.
But he would have been thrilled to know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Who say he doesn't know?
Well, yeah. Well, I was about to say. I mean, he didn't know in life, but he did things that led to that.
There's only that one scripture, and we're not supposed to build doctrine around it, but that concept that those who've gone before us are rooting us on, the great host. I've always read that and thought, okay, do I know what's going on? Do I not know? We can't really build theology, but I choose to go, they're rooting us on.
Yeah.
I just,
I choose to believe that too.
Yeah.
Choose to hope that.
I hope that.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to ask that question you have.
Yeah. Which one? Where are you at?
Your closing roundtable question. Because
you should have just asked it. Go ahead.
If our great grandchildren could sit at this table with us tonight, what do you hope they'll thank you for? Do you have an answer?
So we almost didn't move here. Like, you guys know the background there, but like, we almost didn't move to Florida. And I had no idea why we were moving to Florida. In fact,
it was the one state you didn't want to go to.
No, not me. Funny thing is, Brooke said, I will follow you wherever you go. Please. There's just one state I don't want to go to. And it was Florida.
Why Florida? Did she not want to
She
go?
just, every time she'd ever been here, it was hot and muggy, and I had multiple different family here, and for whatever reason, plus we'd grown up in Knoxville, Tennessee, you hated the Florida Gators, so like, just not Florida, just the one place, not Florida. And we had already been to Alabama, and it was like, and so
you just gradually moved her down.
But the thing is, like, Florida was never on my radar, and for whatever reason, I just started looking and then come to think of it, like, we adopted girls from here, and they were the first ones in the home here, and it was just like the way it worked out was like providential, and so part of it would be, I think, I would want them to understand that I took a genuine leap of faith, had no reason to be here, and did it anyway. And then, like, since I've been here, I have not ever thought, like, I've even thought about this, like, when I die, where will I be buried? All of my family's from Tennessee, but I'm building here.
And you want your daughters to marry here
and so
be
that's
around
the
their
point.
grandbabies here.
Right, I'm building a borough here. I want them here, right? And so then I want to be here. And so I guess what I would say is, I would hope that they would be thankful that, like, I took the risk, and once I was here, it's almost like when you think about the people coming over on the Mayflower and stuff, like, it was either they were going to do it or they were going to die. They were either going to be successful or they were going to fail.
And most of them died.
On the way over. And then also here. But the point is, like, they just all died. I would hope that they would be thankful that I took the risk, and then once I decided that's what I was doing, I went all in.
It's good.
It's funny you say that. That Brooke said, your wife, that you just any place but Florida, and you ended up coming to Florida because I'm originally from Indiana, and I moved here when I was 11,
right,
and I hated it. I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, it was hot, it was humid, and like everyone's wearing like cowboy hats and had weird accents, and like
he was in an area.
I know where you're at.
It was like, man, and I stayed here, and I didn't necessarily have an intention to leave per se. But then I got a job in Illinois, and I'm like, all right, back in the Midwest. And when I left, I literally thought, I got in the car right after I graduated, like literally the day after I graduated college, and I said, I'm never coming back here. Not to like visit or anything, but like, I'm never moving back here again. And I said that to myself, and I'm like, I'm staying in the Midwest forever. And I still like identify as a Midwesterner. Like, culturally, I think I'm closer to that. And even like, we've talked about, there's North and South, and then there's like city and rural. And I'm more of a city person to be honest. And so I would have never chosen necessarily to move where I am now.
In a rural area in the South.
And yet God,
in the reddest county in the whole state.
Well, I don't mind red.
I
was in like Solid Blue for 8 years, like living in red for a little bit. Was a nice change of pace, but like, God just moves in ways where he does things you don't know exactly what he's doing or why. But like, I can kind of identify that it was a different situation, but in a weird way, I never thought I'd end up where I am.
Not only that, but you were a Calvinist, but you weren't covenantal yet. You came here for a low-paying high school job, didn't even know you would be an elder one day. I mean, everything God just worked out. And I remember being in group chats and your wife freaking out about big spiders and lizards.
That still happens. But
she's like, is it true y'all have those big lizards there? Yes, we have them. They're good, though. You want them in your house? I don't want those in my house.
I never lied to her about bugs, but I didn't say everything that I knew.
Right.
When we were about to move here.
I remember the first time Brooke heard house lizard, and she was like, what? House lizard? Why would anybody have a lizard in the house? And it's like, it's not that you have them in your house, but like, if they come in every now and then,
You leave them alone.
Yeah, you just let
They eat the bugs,
and they'll get back out. Yeah.
My wife had had a breakdown the first time she discovered, those giant grasshoppers that they have here.
Yes, those things are awesome. Take them, you throw them on people. Yeah, they're awesome.
All right. So what if our great grandchildren could sit at the table with us tonight, Robbie? What would you say that you hope they were thankful for?
Man, I don't know. You know what I would hope.
Yeah.
Is that they would just say I was consistent day in and day out.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing. Doing what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Because, a lifetime and the years are built like one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And our kids live one day at a time too. And when we look back on our lives, kind of like a lot of it like blurs together. But those blurs ultimately are made one day at a time, and you never know which one of those days is going to stick out too.
Yeah.
And so what I would hope that they'd say is, thank you for, getting up every day, doing what you're supposed to do, going to bed and waking up and doing
all over
the same thing, and
long obedience in the right direction. Yep. What about you?
I would hope to hear thank you for building or for pouring in and producing godly parents who also raised up and produced my godly parents for the culture that I'm in, because ultimately that has to be a generational seed that pours over from generation to generation. If I'm gonna be honest, the culture that my family enjoys comes from my grandpa, who I knew, and my dad. I mean, he was not a strong Christian, but he still brought that Christian culture even before he was faithful in church. And he became faithful later on. And that family culture of love and of, just mentorship and family forgives and, kids are important. You poured, I can't remember my dad hardly ever missing games. He'd miss the occasional scrimmage, but he didn't miss games.
You're right.
If it was in his power. And so that constant pouring in, I want my great grandkids to be able to look back and see that what's happened generationally so that they will do the same thing. That's what I want. I want them to be thankful for generational faith.
Yeah. A legacy of faith.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you would want your great grandchildren to be thankful for, none of that's going to happen unless you start today, right? So,
roll us out.
I would say Christ rules, build accordingly, catechize your kids.